Good morning, Xiadag. This morning, I saw that our one MBA students were surprised to learn that Bill Gates is also William Gates, and Bill Clinton is also William Clinton, and Bill Brown is also William Brown. In English-speaking countries, we take it for granted that people know this. But in December 1981, when Sue and I flew to Taiwan to get married, this issue caused us a lot of grief. Our flight from Los Angeles to Taipei took us through Seattle, Anchorage, and Hong Kong. And months before our wedding, a friend from Taiwan warned us to book 2 rooms in the Hong Kong YMCA because flights to Hong Kong were often late, and if we missed the connecting flight to Taipei, it would be very expensive to get a room at the last minute. As a penny-pinching student, I wasn't keen on paying in advance for rooms we'd probably not use. But I took his advice. Sure enough, we missed our Taipei plane. But when we got to the YMCA, they said they had no reservations for us. Of course you do, I said. I paid in advance months ago. Unfortunately, I'd forgotten to bring the receipt. And after fruitless arguing, Sue and I went in search of another hotel, but could not find any that we could afford. We finally returned to the YMCA and we sat on the lobby floor, exhausted. After a few minutes, a man at the desk came over and he said, "Excuse me, but is Bill the same as William?" I'd reserved the room as William Brown, but when I checked in, I told them I was Bill Brown. Clueless that Chinese did not know Bill is simply the informal version of William. Now, Chinese say these nicknames are strange, but no stranger, I think, than the Chinese custom of using a childhood name, such as Ding Ding or Dong Dong or Poo Poo, and then switching to an adult name. Different places, different customs. But for the record, I'll try to explain why we say Bill instead of William, even for the President of the U.S. Will is short for William. But in the Middle Ages, people began saying Bill because 1, it rhymed with Will, and 2, phonetics makes Bill slightly easier to say than Will. Bill, Will. Bob is short for Robert because it began as Rob, but B is easier on the tongue than R. Bob, Rob. Sally is short for Sarah. The R was changed to an easier to say L. Though today most girls prefer Sarah, which was the original Hebrew name. And Molly is a common nickname for Mary, again because an L rolls off the tongue more easily than an R. Peggy is short for Margaret. It evolved from Meg, Mog, and Maggie. And Dick is short for Richard because it rhymes with Rick, also short for Richard, and a D is easier to say than an R. Hank and Harry are short for Henry, though Harry is more popular now because of the English prince, or used to be a prince. Now I think he's retired from royalty and he's just simply Henpeck. So Jack is short for John. So U.S. President John Kennedy was often called Jack, but his wife's nickname was Jackie, short for Jacqueline. So they were Jack and Jackie. And Chuck is short for Charles because Charles was pronounced Chuckin in Middle English, which was spoken from 1066 AD until the late 15th century. And this brings up an interesting point. Books in the Middle English, such as Canterbury Tales, are hard to read today, even though they were written just over 600 years ago. For example, Chaucer wrote in Canterbury Tales, I know enog on even an emori, which today is written, I know enough in the evening and in the morning. But if you think Middle English is hard, try Old English, which was, and that's not people use English used by old people like me, that's English used from the mid-5th century until 1066, when it was replaced by Anglo-Norman, a relative of French that evolved into Middle English. In Beowulf, I wish to declare to the son of Halfdene was written as Willi ik essegen suno Halfdenes. Sounds like something from Lord of the Rings, Elvish. But although English has changed greatly, most Chinese characters have remained relatively unchanged for almost 2,000 years. And even Korean, Japanese, and Vietnam at one point used Chinese as their official written language. A few years ago, the Seoul government showed me a museum of Korean history, and I read an ancient script. You can read ancient Korean, they said. It's Chinese, I said. Oh, right, they said. But did you know that people in South America also used ancient Chinese writing over 2,000 years ago? I'll share that amazing tale in another story. Bye-bye.